Welcome to Lunar Whisper. I'll be your storyteller tonight, the voice you hear when the room gets too quiet. Before we begin, like this video and subscribe, so you never miss the things that follow you after midnight. Tell me in the comments where you're watching from, and what time it is. And if there's a story you want next, don't be shy. The shadows are listening. The first time I saw the Baboon Plush, it didn't even look scary. It was just sitting on the top shelf at a small toy shop near my house. Brown fur, big round eyes, and a little smile that looked kinda cute, but also kinda off, like it was smiling too wide. I didn't even plan to buy it, but the shop owner kept looking at me and saying, "Take it. Trust me, it likes you." That should have been my red flag, right? But no. Me being me, I just laughed, paid for it, and brought it home. The moment I placed it on my desk, my room suddenly felt different, colder, like someone invisible had just walked in behind me. That night, I kept hearing small tapping sounds, soft, slow, like tiny fingers knocking on wood. I thought it was nothing, maybe the house settling, or a rat or whatever, until I noticed something weird. The Baboon Plush was no longer on my desk. It was sitting on the floor, facing my bed, even though I know I never touched it. I picked the plush up and put it back on my desk. I tried to laugh it off like, okay, maybe I dropped you without noticing. But honestly, I already felt uneasy. Before sleeping, I made sure it was facing the wall. No creepy eye contact. No weird smile pointing at me. But around 2 a.m., I woke up because something touched my foot. Not a big touch, just a light tap, like someone poked me with a finger. I sat up fast, heart racing. The room was dark, but I could still see it. The Baboon Plush was now sitting at the end of my bed, its head slightly tilted. Its smile now looked bigger in the dark. I froze. I couldn't even breathe. Then I heard it. A small, raspy whisper. Play with me. The voice wasn't loud. It wasn't even clear. But it was enough to make my whole body shake. I jumped out of bed, turned on the light, and grabbed the plush. I opened my window and threw it outside, straight into the bushes. I slammed the window shut, locked it, and tried to calm myself. I kept telling myself I imagined the voice. Stress, lack of sleep, whatever excuse I could find. But the moment I turned back toward my room, my window lock clicked open by itself, and from outside, I heard leaves moving, slow, heavy, like something crawling. I stood there, staring at the window. The lock slowly lifted on its own, like an invisible hand was pushing it up. My chest felt tight, like my lungs forgot how to work. I took one step back, then another. The bushes outside made that same rustling sound. But this time, it wasn't slow. It was fast, like something was running straight toward my house. I panicked and shut the curtains, but honestly, that didn't help at all. I could still hear it, scratching, right on the glass. Soft at first, then harder, then dragging across the window, like nails. I backed up until my legs hit the edge of my bed. I didn't want to look, but something inside me kept saying, check, just check. So I did. I opened the curtain just a tiny bit, and there it was, the Baboon Plush, pressed against the glass. Its face smashed flat, but its smile, somehow, looked even wider, almost human. Its hand was raised, tapping the window with one finger. Tap, tap, tap. But the worst part wasn't the tapping. It was its eyes. They weren't made of plastic anymore. They were alive, blinking, watching me. I stumbled backward, tripped over my blanket, and hit the floor hard. When I sat up, the plush wasn't at the window anymore. The scratching had stopped. My room had gone silent. Too silent. Then I heard footsteps. Inside my room. Small. Soft. And getting closer. The footsteps stopped right behind my bed. Not big enough to be a person. Not light enough to be a mouse. Something in between. Like a child trying to tiptoe. I didn't dare look. My body felt locked. Like fear froze every muscle I had. Then I heard breathing. Short, shaky breaths, right next to my ear. I slowly turned my head, and nothing was there. But before I could even exhale, the sound came from the other side of the bed. Then, from under the bed. Then behind me again. It was moving way too fast. No plush doll should move like that. I crawled backward until my back hit the wall. My hands were shaking so badly I could barely hold my phone when I grabbed it. I turned on the flashlight and aimed it under the bed. There was nothing, just dust and an old sock. But when I lifted my head, the baboon plush was suddenly sitting on my pillow, its head tilted deeper, almost touching its shoulder, like it was studying me. I swear its mouth had more teeth now, small, sharp, and too many for a toy. I wanted to run out of the room, but the door slammed shut by itself. The handle started shaking, like someone outside was trying to get in, or something inside was trying to keep me from escaping. The plush slowly lifted its little arm, not falling, not dropping, lifting, on purpose. It pointed at me, and its voice came again, clearer this time. Don't. Leave. I pressed myself harder against the wall, like I was trying to disappear into it. My heartbeat was so loud I swear the whole room could hear it. The plush sat on my pillow, arm still raised, finger still pointing at me. Its smile didn't move, but somehow it felt like it was grinning wider every second. I forced myself to stand up. My legs felt like noodles, but I didn't care anymore. I just needed to get out of that room. I grabbed my desk chair and threw it at the door handle. The crash echoed through the room, loud enough to make my ears ring. The handle stopped shaking. For a moment, I thought I was safe. But then the plush moved. Not fast, not slow, just wrong. It twisted its head all the way around like its neck wasn't real, and its eyes locked on mine. It whispered, "You bought me." I yelled and kicked it off the bed. It hit the floor, bounced once, then sat up by itself like nothing happened. I ran to the door, shoved the chair out of the way and pulled the handle. This time it opened. I bolted into the hallway, didn't even look back. But halfway down the stairs, the lights in the house flickered. Every bulb flashed on and off. Fast, then slow, then fast again. And over the sound of electricity buzzing, I heard tiny footsteps behind me, getting closer. I turned around, and the baboon plush was sitting at the top of the stairs. Not walking, not crawling, just appearing there, like it didn't need to move at all. It tilted its head again and said, "You can't run." I stumbled backward down the stairs, nearly slipping. My hand grabbed the railing so hard my fingers hurt, but I didn't care. All I knew was I needed distance. I needed space between me and that thing. When my feet hit the ground floor, I ran straight to the living room. I turned on every light, even the TV. Anything to make the room feel less dark, less haunted. But the house didn't feel normal anymore. The air felt heavy, like the walls were holding their breath. I moved to the front door and pulled the lock. My hands were shaking like crazy. It wouldn't open at first, like something was pressing it shut from the outside. I pulled harder. Finally, the lock snapped open. But just as I reached for the handle, A shadow moved across the wall behind me. Small, round head, long arms. I froze. My chest felt like it dropped into the floor. Slowly, I turned my head. The Baboon Plush was sitting on the couch, like it had been there the whole time, its legs dangling, its smile stretched unnaturally wide. It didn't blink, it didn't twitch, but the lights around it dimmed, only around it, like something inside it was pulling the brightness away. I whispered, "What do you want from me?" The plush lifted its head slightly. Its smile didn't move, but its voice echoed again. "You invited me. Home." My skin crawled. I didn't invite anything. I bought a toy. That's it. But maybe that was enough. Then the plush stood up, not with its legs bending, not with any normal movement. It floated an inch above the couch, body stiff like a puppet being pulled by strings. And it drifted toward me. Slow, silent. Straight across the room. I backed up until I hit the front door. There was nowhere else to go. The plush floated closer, its arms hanging lifelessly, its head tilting side to side, like it was trying to read my fear. I grabbed the doorknob and yanked it. The door didn't budge. I pulled harder. Still nothing. It was like the door had fused shut. The Baboon Plush stopped floating. It dropped to the floor. But it didn't fall like a toy. It landed on its feet, standing upright, like a child. My breath got stuck in my throat. I couldn't look away, couldn't blink. It slowly raised its head to look at me. Those eyes, they weren't plush eyes anymore. They were dark, wet, and alive. "Don't run," it whispered. Its voice had changed. It sounded more human now, more real, like someone was inside it. The lights flickered again. The TV turned off by itself. The whole house went silent. Except for one sound. Soft scratching, coming from behind the walls, and above the ceiling, and under the floor, like more of them were waking up. The plush took one step forward, not floating now, walking, slow and heavy, like its feet were real. I panicked and sprinted into the kitchen. I grabbed the first weapon I saw, a knife. When I turned back around, the plush was already sitting on the kitchen counter, right next to me, as if it teleported. It leaned forward slightly. "You belong to me now." I swung the knife at it, hard, but the moment the blade touched its fur, the metal burned my hand, like the knife itself turned red hot. I dropped it with a scream. The plush didn't even flinch. It just whispered, "Trying won't help." My hand was still throbbing from the burn, but I forced myself to back away. The plush stayed on the counter, staring at me like it was enjoying every second. I grabbed a chair and held it like a shield. Pathetic, I know, but at that point, I just needed anything between me and that thing. The Baboon Plush tilted its head again, and the lights in the kitchen slowly dimmed. Not flickering, just fading, like the house itself was shutting down. I whispered, "Why me?" The plush didn't answer right away. It just stared. Those human-like eyes didn't blink once. Then it said, "You listened." I didn't even understand what that meant. Listened to what? But before I could ask, the plush raised its arms, both of them, straight up, like it was reaching for something above, and the ceiling above it cracked. A long, thin crack split across the plaster. Dust fell onto the plush's head. The crack stretched wider, like something was pushing from the other side. I stepped back until my heel hit the cabinet. My whole body felt numb. The plush pointed at the crack. "Come out," it whispered softly, almost excited. A sound crawled out from inside the ceiling, scratching, clicking, breathing. Something else was up there. Slowly, a small hand slid through the crack. Not a human hand. Too thin, too long, like the bones were stretched. Then a second hand, then a face pressed against the broken plaster. It looked like another baboon plush, but its mouth was open too wide and its eyes were hollow. It didn't move, it just stared down at me. The first plush on the counter whispered, "Join us." The second creature slowly pushed its head through the crack. Bits of ceiling fell everywhere, but it didn't care. It just crawled out, legs bending in the wrong direction, arms stretching too far. It dropped onto the counter beside the first plush. Both of them stared at me with those dark, living eyes. I pressed myself into the corner of the kitchen, shaking so hard I could barely stay standing. "Stay away," I whispered, but they only smiled wider. The first plush spoke again. "You brought one home," so the rest followed. My throat tightened. I didn't bring anything home on purpose. I bought a toy, a stupid plush, but maybe that was all they needed, a way in. The two plushes climbed down from the counter, their little feet tapping softly on the tiles. They moved in sync, like they shared the same mind. As they walked toward me, the house changed again. The walls started to creak. The air turned icy. My breath came out in white puffs. Then more sounds came from upstairs. Dozens of footsteps, light and quick, pattering across the floor, down the hallway toward the stairs. My stomach twisted. They weren't alone. There were more, a lot more. The plush in front lifted its head, almost like it was smiling proudly. "You opened the door," it whispered. "Now we stay." The footsteps upstairs reached the top of the staircase, one by one, slow and steady. Then I heard them coming down, not crawling, not stumbling, walking, like a whole group of small children. But I knew none of them were human. I grabbed a broom, the only thing left to defend myself, even though I knew it wouldn't do anything. My hands were sweating so much the handle nearly slipped. The two plushes stopped just a few steps away from me. The first one leaned forward and whispered, "Don't fight. It's useless." Behind it, I saw shadows moving in the hallway. Tall ones, short ones, hunched ones, all heading toward the kitchen. They were coming. The shadows finally reached the edge of the kitchen doorway. I could hear their tiny breathing, fast, hungry, excited. I tightened my grip on the broom, even though it felt like holding a toothpick against a storm. One by one, the plushes stepped into the light. Some looked like the baboon. Some looked half melted, like they'd been burned. Some had too many eyes. Some had none. Their bodies twitched like broken dolls trying to learn how to walk. At least 10 of them, maybe more. They circled around me slowly, forming a wide ring. No escape, no space to run. The first plush, the one I bought at the shop, stood in front of them like a leader. It pointed at me again. Its voice was clear now, colder, older. "You should not have taken me home." My chest tightened. Then, "What do you want from me?" The plush's smile widened unnaturally. Its eyes glimmered like something alive was staring through them. "We want you." The lights in the kitchen blew out all at once. Pop, pop, pop. Darkness swallowed everything. I felt tiny hands grabbing my ankles, then my wrists, then my shirt. Dozens of them, cold, small, and impossibly strong. I screamed and swung blindly with the broom, but it was pointless. Something crawled up my back. Something else pulled at my hair. Tiny fingers tugged at my clothes, my skin. The leader plush whispered right next to my ear, "You belong to us now." Then the floor under me softened, like it turned into mud. My legs sank first, then my waist, then my chest. I clawed at the tiles, but they felt like liquid. The plushes dragged me down together, their whispers filling my head, overlapping, endless. Stay. Don't leave. Stay. Stay. The last thing I saw before the darkness swallowed me completely was the Baboon Plush's face, its smile stretching wider than a mouth should ever stretch. And then, silence. No one ever found me. Only the plush on the counter, sitting still, waiting for the next person to take it home. The day I found the Baboon Plush, I swear everything felt normal. Just a regular walk, a regular street, a regular little store I'd never noticed before. The plush was sitting alone on a dusty shelf. Brown fur, big round eyes, and a smile that looked too confident, like it already knew something I didn't. The shopkeeper, an old man with tired eyes, looked at me and said, "You sure you want that one?" I laughed and said, "It's just a toy, right?" He didn't answer. He just looked at the plush like it wasn't supposed to be there. Still, I bought it. Didn't even know why. Something about it felt familiar, like it was waiting for me. When I got home, I put it on my desk. It looked harmless, kinda cute even. But that night, things already felt off. The air in my room felt heavier, like someone else was in there with me. I kept hearing small tapping sounds, not loud, just enough to make me look around every few minutes. When I finally went to bed, I made sure the plush was facing the wall. Didn't want it staring at me. But when I woke up at around 3 a.m., the plush was sitting on my chest, just sitting there, smiling right at my face. "Would you like to continue to page 2? I froze. My whole body felt like it turned to stone. The plush was light, but the pressure on my chest felt heavy, almost like a real body sitting on me. Its smile looked wider than before. Its eyes looked brighter, too bright. I slowly pushed it off and dropped it onto the floor. My hands were shaking, but I forced myself to breathe. Maybe I grabbed it in my sleep, I whispered to myself. Stupid excuse, but it was 3 a.m., and I was terrified. I turned on the lamp. The room looked normal again. Still, I decided to put the plush inside my wardrobe, all the way at the back, behind some boxes. I closed the wardrobe door tight, but as I walked back to my bed, I heard it. A soft thud from inside the wardrobe. I stopped breathing for a second, then another thud, then something like scratching, light, slow, and steady. Nope, no way. I grabbed the wardrobe handle with shaky fingers and opened it fast, just to prove to myself nothing was happening. The plush was sitting right at the edge of the shelf, not in the back, not behind any boxes, right at the front, facing me, like it had been waiting for me to open the door. I slammed the wardrobe shut and stepped away quickly. Then I heard it whisper, very soft, very close. "Don't hide me." My whole body went cold. There was no one else in the room, no speakers, no toys that make sounds, nothing. That whisper came from inside the wardrobe. I grabbed my phone with shaky hands, turned on the flashlight, and slowly opened the wardrobe again. The plush was gone. Just gone. Not on the shelf, not on the floor, not anywhere. My heart started beating too fast. I backed away from the wardrobe, checking every corner of the room. Then I saw it. The plush was now sitting on my bed, right on my pillow. Its head slightly tilted like it was studying me. I swallowed hard and said, "What do you want?" No answer. Just that creepy smile. I slowly reached toward it, planning to grab it and throw it out of the house. But the moment my fingers touched its fur, its eyes moved. Not fast, not blinking, just slowly turning to look directly at my hand. I jumped back so hard I hit the wall. The plush fell off the pillow and landed on the floor. But instead of staying still, it got up. Not like a falling toy, not from rolling over. It stood on its two legs, as if it had bones inside. And then it whispered again, this time louder. Don't leave me. I pressed my back against the wall so hard it hurt. My brain was screaming at me to run, but my legs wouldn't listen. The plush took one tiny step toward me. Its movements were slow, but controlled, like it wasn't a toy anymore. I grabbed the nearest thing I could use, a pillow. Yeah, I know, not exactly the best weapon, but I was panicking. I threw it at the plush. The pillow hit it, knocked it over, and it rolled under my desk. I didn't wait. I ran out of my room and slammed the door shut. My hands shook as I locked it. For a moment, the hallway felt quiet, almost too quiet. Then I heard something inside my room. Scratch, scratch, scratch. It was dragging its tiny feet across the floor. Slowly, patiently. Then, thump. Something hit the door from the inside. I stepped back. Another thump, then another. It wasn't strong, like a person knocking. It was small, constant, trying to get out. I turned and ran to the living room, trying to calm myself. I took deep breaths. I kept telling myself, it's just a toy. It's just a toy. It's just a toy. But then my phone buzzed. A notification from my bedroom camera. I had installed it last month and forgot it was even there. The alert said, motion detected. My heart dropped. I opened the camera feed with shaking fingers. The screen loaded, and I saw the plush, standing on my desk, facing the camera, its smile wider, its eyes brighter. And then, on the live feed, it slowly lifted its arm and waved at me. My breath got stuck in my throat. The plush wasn't supposed to move. It wasn't supposed to wave. But there it was, on my screen, staring straight into the camera like it knew I was watching. I dropped my phone on the couch. My hands were sweating so badly it almost slipped twice. I backed away, but at the same time, I couldn't stop looking at the screen. The plush slowly lowered its arm. Then it climbed down from the desk, one stiff movement at a time, like something inside it was forcing its limbs to work. It walked toward the bedroom door, my bedroom door, the same door I had just locked. On camera, I watched its little hand reach for the doorknob. I whispered, "No, no way." But the doorknob started shaking, soft at first, then harder, like something was testing the lock. Suddenly, the plush stopped. It turned around and looked back at the camera again. Then it did something that made my whole body freeze. It lifted its hand and pointed, directly at the camera. No, directly at me. Like it knew exactly where I was standing. Then my bedroom camera cut to static. Just noise, just black and white fuzz. I didn't know what to do. My mind was racing. Call the police, run out of the house, burn the place down. Before I could decide, I heard something from the end of the hallway. A soft click, the sound of a lock opening. I turned slowly and saw my bedroom door opening by itself. The door creaked open inch by inch, like someone was pushing it slowly on purpose. I stared at the dark gap forming in the doorway, waiting for something, anything, to move. But nothing stepped out. No sound, no plush, no breathing, just darkness. That's what made it worse. I held my breath and took one small step backward, keeping my eyes locked on the open door. Then I heard it. Tap. A tiny footstep. Tap. Getting closer. I kept backing away until my knees hit the coffee table behind me. From the darkness of my room, the plush finally appeared, walking out slowly, steady, confident. Its shadow stretched along the hallway wall, long and thin like something much bigger was inside it. The plush stopped halfway down the hall. Its head turned sideways with a slow crackling sound, like bones popping. Then it said, "You can't hide." My blood ran cold. I grabbed the TV remote and threw it at the plush. It hit the wall inches above it, but the plush didn't even flinch, just kept staring. And then, every light in the house flickered, one by one. From the hallway to the kitchen to the living room, the air got colder, heavy, like the whole house was holding its breath. The plush took another step toward me, then another. I turned and ran into the kitchen. I slammed the door behind me and locked it, my hands shaking uncontrollably. For a few seconds, everything was silent. Then, scratch, right on the door, light at first, slow, then harder. Then, thump, like something small was throwing its body against the door, again and again and again. I covered my ears, trying not to lose my mind. Then the scratching stopped. That silence was worse. I slowly leaned toward the door, trying to listen, and then I heard a small voice on the other side. So close it sounded like it was right next to my ear. "Let me in." My whole body felt numb. The voice wasn't loud, but it was right there, like the plush was pressing its face against the other side of the door. I didn't answer. I couldn't. I just backed away slowly, step by shaky step. The house fell completely silent again. No scratching, no thumping, no footsteps. And silence from that thing was somehow more terrifying than the noise. Then my phone vibrated. A new notification. Bedroom camera, motion detected. But my bedroom was empty. The plush was at my kitchen door. So what moved? Hands trembling, I opened the app. The camera feed loaded. And on the screen, I saw myself, standing in the kitchen, right where I was. But the angle, it wasn't from the bedroom. It was from behind me. Something was in the kitchen with me, watching me, filming me. My breath stopped. I turned around slowly. Nothing. Just the empty kitchen. But the camera feed behind me kept moving, like someone was walking in circles around me, holding the phone. I dropped the phone. It hit the floor with a loud clack. The feed shut off. Then, tap, on the window behind me. It wasn't a normal tap. It was too soft, too slow, like tiny fingers. I didn't want to look. Every part of me said, "Don't, just don't." But I did. I turned toward the window, and the plush was sitting on the outside ledge. Impossible. It had been at the kitchen door seconds ago. Its face was pressed to the glass. Its smile was wider. Its eyes were glowing faintly, like something alive was staring through them. It lifted one small hand and tapped the glass again. Tap. Then it whispered, "Let me in, or I come anyway." I stumbled backward until my spine hit the counter. The plush stayed at the window, its face still pressed to the glass, fogging it up with every tiny breath. Its eyes didn't blink, not once. I grabbed a kitchen knife. Yeah, I knew it probably wouldn't help, but when you're terrified, even a useless weapon feels better than nothing. The plush slowly lifted its head away from the glass. Then it tilted it again, that same creepy angle that made it look like its neck wasn't real. It whispered, "You're scared." No kidding. Then, one by one, the lights around the kitchen began to dim. Not turn off. Dim. Like the darkness was creeping in from the edges of the room. The plush pressed its hands to the window. Its fingers stretched wider than they should, almost like they were growing. "Let me in." I shook my head, clutching the knife tighter. It smiled wider, too wide, like its mouth was tearing at the corners. Then, crack. A spiderweb pattern spread across the window glass, one single hit from its tiny hand. My stomach dropped. The plush raised its hand again, ready to strike harder. Panic took over. I sprinted out of the kitchen and slammed the living room door shut behind me. I pushed the couch in front of it, breathing hard, hands slipping from sweat. For a moment, everything went quiet. Then, crash, glass shattering. Not a small crack, a full, body-sized crash. It had broken the window. I heard its tiny feet land on the kitchen floor. Soft, fast, too fast. The plush was inside the house again. Then the breathing started. Not mine, not human. Soft, ragged, coming from the other side of the living room door. Then a whisper slid through the crack under the door. I found you. I stepped back from the door, shaking so hard I could barely stay on my feet. The whisper crawled under the door like cold air, slipping into the room even though the door was locked. I held the knife in front of me, but honestly, I knew it wouldn't change anything. The plush's breathing grew louder, slow, wet, almost human. Then the doorknob moved, not rattling, turning, slow and steady. I pushed the couch harder against the door, using my whole body weight. My heart felt like it was going to explode. The door pushed back. Tiny force, but constant. Like something small but strong was trying to squeeze through. I yelled, "Stop! Leave me alone!" The pressure on the door suddenly stopped. Silence. I didn't trust it. I didn't move. Then, tap, tap, tap. On the window behind me. My blood froze. I turned, slowly. The plush was hanging upside down outside the living room window, its face pressed against the glass. Its smile stretched unnaturally across its whole face. It shouldn't have been able to climb that high. It shouldn't have been able to get there so fast. But there it was, just staring at me. Its head twitched to one side, then the other. Then it raised one hand and tapped the window again. "Let me in." I backed away toward the hallway. I didn't care where I went. I just needed distance from that thing. But when I reached the hall, I froze, because the hallway wasn't empty. Somehow, the plush was standing there too, right in the center, just standing, not climbing, not crawling, like it had teleported. Now there were two of them, one at the window, one in the hallway, both smiling, both watching me. The hallway plush lifted its arm and pointed at me. Then it whispered in a deeper voice, "You can't run." I froze. Two of them. Two identical plushes staring at me with those living, dark, blinking eyes. The one in the hallway took a tiny step forward. The one at the window tapped the glass harder. Their voices overlapped, soft, broken whispers echoing inside my head. "Don't run. Stay. Stay with us." My chest tightened. My legs wouldn't move. It felt like the whole house was slowly closing around me. Then the hallway plush did something that made my stomach twist. It started growing, slowly. Its arms stretched first, then its legs. Its fur opened in places, revealing skin underneath that didn't look human or animal. Just wrong. Its smile widened until it split up its cheeks. Its eyes bulged, like something was pushing from inside its skull. The window plush copied it a second later. Both of them were changing, becoming something else, something bigger. I ran. I sprinted toward the back door with everything I had left. My lungs burned, my vision blurred. I didn't care anymore. I just needed to get out. I slammed into the back door and unlocked it with shaking fingers. The door flew open, and I stumbled into the cold night air. But the moment I stepped outside, I stopped dead, because sitting on the back steps was another baboon plush. This one wasn't smiling. It was staring, waiting, like it knew I would come here. Behind me, I heard the two inside the house stepping closer. Their footsteps were wrong, too soft for something so big. The plush on the steps slowly stood up. Then dozens of tiny footsteps echoed around the yard. From the bushes, from under the porch, from the shadows, more plushes, crawling out, climbing, standing, surrounding, all staring at me. The first one whispered, "You let one in." Another added, "So we came too." And then they all whispered together, soft but endless, "Stay, stay, stay." I tried to run, but something grabbed my ankle, something small, strong, cold. I hit the ground. Tiny hands pulled at my clothes, my arms, my legs. I screamed, kicked, fought, but they were everywhere. The last thing I saw before I was dragged into the darkness beneath my house was the original Baboon Plush's face above me. Its smile stretched across its whole head, its eyes glowing faintly. Then it whispered, "You belong to us now." And everything went black. I wasn't planning to buy anything that day. I just wanted to look around a small roadside shop while waiting for my friend. But the moment I walked in, I saw it. A baboon plush, brown fur, long arms, big round eyes. It looked old, like it had been sitting there for years. But what made me stop was the smile. It wasn't cute. It wasn't friendly. It looked wrong, like the plush was smiling at me. The shopkeeper noticed I was staring and said, "Oh, that one. You can take it cheap. Nobody wants it." I laughed and said, "Why? Looks kind of funny." He didn't laugh. He didn't even blink. He just said, "Just don't put it near your bed." That should have been weird enough to make me walk away. But no, I still bought it. When I got home, I tossed the plush on my desk and forgot about it. I made dinner, watched a few videos, and went to bed early. Around 2 a.m., I woke up because something touched my foot. Not a heavy touch, just a small tap, like tiny fingers. I looked down at the end of the bed and almost stopped breathing. The baboon plush was sitting on my blanket, its head slightly tilted, its smile wider than I remembered. I didn't even hear it fall. I didn't hear it move. I had left it on my desk. So how did it get here? I forced myself to sit up slowly, even though my whole body felt frozen. The plush didn't move. It just sat there, staring at me with that smile that suddenly looked too real. I whispered, "How did you get here?" Yeah, I knew it wouldn't answer. But the room felt so quiet that even my own voice scared me. I leaned forward and grabbed it with shaking hands. Its fur felt colder than it should, like it had been outside in the night air. I placed it back on my desk, face turned toward the wall. I didn't want it looking at me. I tried to go back to sleep, but my eyes kept drifting toward the desk, just to make sure it stayed there. After maybe 20 minutes, I started hearing the soft tapping again. Tap, tap, tap. It was coming from the desk. I sat up fast. My heart was racing. The plush was still facing the wall, but its arm was raised, like it had been tapping the desk with its fingers. I tried to convince myself I was imagining it. Maybe I placed it weirdly. Maybe it fell. Maybe the wind. Then I remembered. My windows were all closed. Before I could think of anything else, the plush moved. Not much, just its head. It turned slightly, as if it wanted to see me. I froze. My breath caught in my throat. Then I heard it. A soft whisper, right next to my ear. "Don't turn me away." I spun around so fast I almost fell off the bed. But no one was there. Just darkness. When I looked back at the desk, the baboon plush was now facing me. My hands instantly went cold. The plush hadn't just turned its head. Its whole body had shifted to face me. Its smile looked bigger now, stretched just a little too far. I whispered, "Stop. Just stop." Not that I expected it to listen. I grabbed my blanket and walked to the door. hoping to sleep in the living room instead. But when I reached for the doorknob, the door wouldn't open. It wasn't locked. It wasn't stuck. It just wouldn't move. Like someone on the other side was holding it shut. I pulled harder. Still nothing. Then I heard a soft sound behind me. A tiny thud, like something small had jumped off the desk. I froze, didn't turn around, didn't breathe. Another thud. Closer this time. Small feet stepping on my floor. My heart was pounding so loud I could barely hear anything else. I forced myself to look. The baboon plush was now standing in the middle of my room. Standing on its feet, like a person. Its arms hung down unnaturally long, almost touching the floor. Then its head tilted to the left, slowly, too slowly. Its mouth moved, not wide, but just enough to speak. "Why are you trying to leave?" I stumbled back, hitting the door with my shoulder. I don't. I couldn't even finish. The plush took one step toward me. A small step, but a real one. Its feet made a soft dragging noise on the floor. I yelled and pushed the door as hard as I could. This time it opened, and I ran out into the hallway. I slammed the door behind me, chest shaking, breath uneven. For a moment, everything was silent. Then I heard something on the other side of the door. A soft, slow scrape, like tiny fingers dragging across the wood, followed by a whisper that was clearer than before. "You can't leave me alone." I backed away from my bedroom door, heart hammering in my chest. The scraping continued slowly, almost calmly, like the plush knew I wasn't going anywhere. I grabbed my phone and turned on the hallway light. The warm light made me feel a little safer. But only for a second, because then the scraping stopped. Silence. I waited and waited, holding my breath. Then, click. The door handle moved, not fast, not loud, just a gentle turn, like someone testing it. I whispered, "No, no, no." My whole body was shaking. The handle turned again, a little more, then stopped. I stared at the door, terrified it would swing open, but it didn't. Instead, something else happened. My phone buzzed. A notification popped up on the screen. "Motion detected in your room." My hands almost dropped the phone. I tapped the camera feed with trembling fingers. The video loaded. I could see my empty room, my bed, my desk, my chair. But the plush wasn't there. I tapped the screen, thinking the feed was glitching. Then the camera shifted. Just a small movement. The angle tilted slightly, and I realized the camera wasn't glitching. Something was holding it. The plush. The plush was holding my phone camera. Suddenly the feed zoomed closer to the camera lens, like the plush was bringing the phone right up to its face. And then I saw it. One big round eye filling the entire screen, blinking, alive. I almost threw the phone. Then a whisper came from the hallway behind me. Not from the camera. "Turn around." I didn't want to turn around. Every instinct in my body was screaming, "Don't do it." But the whisper was so close. Too close. Like the plush was standing right behind me. I swallowed hard and slowly turned my head. Nothing. Just an empty hallway. But the air felt different, colder, like something had just moved out of sight. I backed up until my shoulder hit the wall. My phone was still in my hand, the screen frozen on that horrible close-up eye. Then the video feed suddenly switched angles again. Now the camera was pointed at the floor. I could see the plush's feet, standing right outside my bedroom door. Except the plush wasn't at the door anymore. It wasn't in the hallway. But somehow, the camera still showed it standing there. I whispered, "This isn't real. This isn't real." Then the plush on the camera feed slowly lifted its head. Its smile looked stretched, like the stitches were tearing. Its arms hung lower than before, almost scraping the floor. It whispered on the feed, but the sound didn't come from my phone. It came from right next to me. "I'm here." The hallway light flickered. Once, twice, then it went off completely. Darkness swallowed everything. I fumbled with my phone flashlight, tapping the button over and over, until a small beam of light finally shined. The moment the light turned on, I saw it. The Baboon Plush standing at the end of the hallway, not moving, not blinking, just staring straight at me. Its shadow on the wall was wrong, too tall, too stretched, like something bigger was inside that tiny body. The plush lifted its arm and pointed at me. "Come back," it whispered. "You're mine." The plush just stood there, pointing at me with that stretched little arm. My flashlight shook so much the beam kept bouncing around the walls. I stepped back slowly, trying not to make a sound. But the plush took one step forward, a small step, but the sound it made wasn't soft. It sounded heavy, like something much larger than a toy was walking inside it. I turned and ran toward the living room. Didn't look back, didn't breathe, just ran. I slammed the living room door shut and locked it. I pushed a chair under the handle, then grabbed a heavy table and shoved it against the door. My hands were shaking so bad, I almost dropped the table twice. For a few seconds, everything stayed quiet. Then I heard soft footsteps outside the door. Tap, tap, tap. They stopped right in front of the door. Then I heard breathing, not human, too shallow, too fast. Then a whisper. "Why are you hiding?" I covered my mouth, trying not to make a sound. The plush dragged its fingers across the door, slowly, like it was tracing the wood. Skirk. Skirk. My eyes filled with tears, not from crying, from fear. Then something else happened. My TV turned on by itself. The screen showed static at first. Then the image shifted. It was my hallway camera, except the angle was low, very low, like something small was holding the phone again. The plush. It was filming. The camera moved slowly down the hallway toward the living room door, toward me. I watched the screen, frozen, as the camera got closer and closer, until it pointed directly at the living room door, the same door I was hiding behind. Then, the camera feed lifted upward like the plush was raising its arm, and started knocking on the door in perfect sync with the sound I heard in the room. Knock, knock, knock. Then the whisper came again. "Let me in." The knocking got louder, not violent, just steady, patient. Like the plush wasn't in a hurry, like it knew I'd break sooner or later. I held my breath, praying it would stop. It didn't. Knock, knock, knock. I grabbed the nearest thing I could use as a weapon, a metal lamp. Yeah, I know it wouldn't help much, but when you're terrified, you just grab whatever feels solid. The TV screen flickered again. The hallway camera shifted its angle, moving lower, then lower, as if the plush had crouched down. The footage pointed directly at the bottom of the living room door, at the tiny gap between the floor and the door. That little space where you can sometimes see shadows. On the screen, something small crawled into view. A tiny hand, thin fingers, moving like it was feeling around for me. Then I heard a scratch from under the door in real life. Skruck, skruck. The plush was sliding its hand under the door. Its fingers pushed farther in, longer than they should have been, stretching, reaching. I jumped back, heart nearly exploding. The fingers stopped moving, then curled upward, like they were waving at me from under the door. The TV whispered, "Found you." I kicked the bottom of the door as hard as I could. The fingers snapped back, disappearing into the hallway. Silence, but only for a second. Then, something ran, fast, right outside the door, back and forth, like it was excited, like it was playing. My hands were shaking so badly I nearly dropped the lamp. Then the plush spoke again, voice muffled through the door. "Why don't you play with me?" I backed toward the window, preparing to escape. Break it if I had to, but something outside caught my eye. Movement. I looked out the window, and my whole body froze. The plush was sitting on the windowsill outside, staring at me. Even though it had just been behind the door. 2 places, at once. I stumbled backward, nearly tripping over the table. The plush on the windowsill didn't move, didn't blink, didn't even twitch. It just pressed its face against the glass, its smile widening so much it looked like the stitches might tear open. Behind me, the plush at the door whispered again, "Let me in." But the one outside whispered at the exact same time, "Or I'll come another way." 2 voices, same tone, same whisper, perfectly synced. I felt sick. My heartbeat was so loud I could barely hear anything else. The plush at the window slowly raised one hand and placed it flat against the glass. Its fingers stretched again, longer than before, pressing lines into the window pane like they were sharp. A thin crack formed under its palm, just one, but it spread fast. I panicked and grabbed the curtain, yanking it closed. I didn't want to see that face anymore. But the moment the curtain covered the window, I heard something scrape on the glass. Long, slow, dragging lines. Scrap, scrap, like claws. Behind me, the doorknob rattled violently, then stopped. Then the voice came again, this time right against the wood. "I'm inside." My breath caught. No, the door was locked. There was furniture blocking it. But the voice wasn't joking. I checked the window. Still closed. Then I heard a new sound. A tiny thud. From behind the couch. I pointed my flashlight toward it. My hand shook so much the beam bounced everywhere. I stepped closer. And when I peeked over the couch, the baboon plush was sitting on the floor. Right there. Not at the door. Not at the window. Here. Inside the room. Its head tilted. Its smile stretched. And it whispered, "You thought running would help." I stumbled back so fast I hit the wall. My legs felt weak, like they didn't want to move anymore. The plush just sat there on the floor, staring up at me like it was proud of itself. I whispered, "How did you get in?" Even though I already knew the answer, it didn't need doors, or windows, or rules. It just appeared wherever it wanted. The plush slowly lifted its head. Its smile twitched, like it was trying to imitate a real expression. "You can't run from me," the plush whispered, "because you chose me." My stomach dropped. "I didn't choose anything," I said. My voice cracked. The plush leaned forward a little, its limbs bending wrong. "You picked me up. You paid for me. That means you accept me." Then, behind me, the curtain at the window moved. Not from wind. The window was closed. Something was behind it. Something crawling upward, slow, heavy. I held my breath as the curtain bulged outward, like a hand was pushing it. Before I could move, another plush head peeked out from the bottom of the curtain. Same smile, same eyes, same whisper. "Play with us." I dropped the lamp. It hit the floor with a loud clank, but I barely heard it. Because then, the living room door behind me creaked open. The chair I placed under the handle slid across the floor like someone pushed it away. The door opened wider, and another baboon plush stepped in. 3. Now, there were 3. One behind the couch, one behind the curtain, one at the door, all smiling. all staring at me, all moving closer. The one near the door whispered, "It doesn't matter where you go." The one behind the curtain added, "We always find you." The one in front whispered the last part, almost gently, "Because you belong to us now." They stepped forward, slow, together, like they were connected by one mind. I backed into the corner, nowhere left to run. The plush in front reached out its long, stretched fingers and touched my ankle. Cold, sharp, wrong. Then, everything in the room went dark. The darkness swallowed everything. Not normal darkness. This felt thick, like it had weight, like the air itself turned black. I couldn't see the plushes anymore, but I could hear them. Tiny footsteps circling me, soft breathing, whispers slipping around my ears from every direction. "Stay. Don't run. You're ours." I tried to move, but something held my legs. Tiny hands, dozens of them, cold as ice. My breath caught in my throat. I tried to pull away, but the hands tightened, tiny fingers digging into my skin. Then a dim light appeared. Not from my phone, not from the room. It was coming from the plush in front of me. Its eyes, they were glowing. Soft at first, then brighter, lighting up the room just enough to see shadows moving around me. At least 10 of them. All baboon plushes, standing, crowding, closing in. Their smiles were too wide now, splitting up their faces like the fur was tearing. I screamed and swung blindly, but every time I hit one, my hand went cold, like touching a freezer full of something alive. The original plush moved closer, its face inches from mine. "You took me home," it whispered. "Now you stay home. Forever." Its mouth opened wider, far wider than a toy's mouth should be able to. Rows and rows of tiny teeth inside, moving. The other plushes grabbed my arms, my shoulders, my back, pulled, hard. I felt myself sinking, not into the floor, into the darkness itself, like it was swallowing me. I clawed at the air, at the walls, at anything I could reach, but the darkness pulled faster. The last thing I saw was the baboon plush climbing onto my chest, its glowing eyes the only light in the room. Then it whispered one last time, soft and close. "Now, you're one of us." The darkness closed over my face. My scream didn't make a sound. And in the morning, the house was quiet, empty, except for one thing. The baboon plush sitting neatly on the couch, smiling toward the front door, waiting for the next person to pick it up and take it home.